So welcome everyone. My name is Elizabeth Drembus, for those who don't know me, and I am the genealogist with the W&M Bray School Lab. In service to the Bray School Lab's mission to uncover, document, preserve, and disseminate the history and the legacies of the Williamsburg Bray School, we host a monthly series on Zoom in order to share recent genealogical findings, engage the descendant community in this work in order to broaden our understanding of the legacies, and enlist the help of historians, genealogists, as well as the general public in furthering the conversations and the research surrounding the Williamsburg Bray School. The title of the monthly series is Bray School Stories, and this evening's focus is a story worth telling. This is a very special evening, and I'm so excited about this. So just some housekeeping items first. Once again, we are recording this session. It will be available later on our YouTube channel. To find it, simply Google Bray School Lab YouTube. If you prefer not to be recorded, please feel free to access this later from our YouTube channel. As I mentioned, this is a very special edition of Bray School Stories, one that I've been looking forward to and excited to share with you. Our monthly sessions are designed to spark conversation. And normally I share a slide and information, and then we'll pause to take questions and invite your thoughts and your comments. However, this evening, we're going to do things a little differently. I am joined by my very special guest, Kristen Hill, and she has been attending these monthly sessions almost very loyally. I don't know that you've missed any, have you, Kristen? She and I will be talking, and we will share clips of her students' performance. They put the story to dance, and we will leave time at the end of the session for Q&A. So questions can be raised at the end of the session, or even put into the chat if you'd like. And now I will say, I will advise you to make sure that the volumes are up on your computers, your tablets, or your phones, so that you'll be able to hear the music as well as the students' voices, because it is a dance, but there is some voice recording over that. Okay, so with all of that out of the way, welcome everyone. I want to introduce our very special guest this evening. Kristen Hill is a middle school French teacher at the Academy for Discovery at Lakewood, a Norfolk public school where she is the faculty sponsor of the ADL Dance Company. After graduating from UVA as an interdisciplinary major in 1992, Kristen embarked on a 17-year career as a radio personality, taking dance classes and participating in local opera and theater productions. Kristen finally started teaching dance at Norfolk's Lakewood Dance and Music Center in 2004, where she was the Lakewood Ballet Company director for 10 years. Kristen received her master's degree in education in 2012 and holds teaching endorsements in English, French, and dance arts. Kristen was most fortunate to grow up in Williamsburg, where she fell in love with the historic area and even worked for 2 summers at the CW Visitor Center during college. Her husband, Chris, is active duty Navy, currently deployed, and they have 2 daughters, one of whom is a member of the ADL Dance Company. So welcome, Kristen. Thank you for being here.
It's a very surreal experience for me to be the guest, because I'm such a fan of your work, Elizabeth, and of the preschool in general. So
Thank you.
I'm very flattered to be here.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen because we do have a PowerPoint slides, but you and I are going to go ahead and just keep talking while this is going on. So let me pull this up, and I'm going to share this with everyone, and we will switch. And from the beginning, excellent. Okay. So I guess my first question to start us off is, where did you first hear or read about the Williamsburg Bray School to get this all started?
Yes, well, I'm a supporter of Colonial Williamsburg, so I get the Trend and Tradition magazine, which I really enjoy, especially the crossword. um, and I read the article in the summer 2021 issue about, it was called "This Was the Bray School," and it was the story of finding the building, hiding in plain sight. And I just thought, I read the story and I thought that it was the coolest thing I'd ever heard, and I got really excited about it. And I just kept rereading the article and kept not throwing that issue away and thinking, I I can't stop thinking about this, and I think that this story needs to be a dance. And and at the time I was switching schools and transferring within the district. And I thought, am I going to be in high school or teaching dance, or am I going to be in middle school teaching French? And finally, I was like, you know what? I'm doing it anyway. I don't know where I'm going to be, but it's happening. But it took me another 2 years before I actually was like, okay, now I'm ready. And turned out the timing was actually pretty good because by then the building was pretty, getting close to opening, and people could come see it in the historic area where it is now.
Exactly. All right, I'm gonna go. So then the next step was then to present it to your students, right?
Yes.
So I'm
Yes.
going to list the questions that you gave me that you asked your students, and then we've got pictures to show about the answers that they came up with. So how did you present it to your students, and what questions? These are the questions that you gave them to get them to start thinking about the story.
Yes, well, because ADL Dance Company is a group that doesn't have any dance experience required. So I put out an all call, anybody can join. But I thought, I can't do this with 35 people. It needs to be, I need to make sure that I've got the kids who are really interested. So I intentionally made the first two meetings pretty academic to see who was really interested and who was willing to go through the process, because I knew that it was going to be a process. So I printed out a copy of my favorite article from Trend and Tradition. This was the Bray School, and had the students read it. And then I also you had actually Dr. Devlin had given me access to the Adam and Fanny's World, um, on that's on the online on the Bray School site, and I thought, let's look at that and kind of get them, kind of draw them in with the story, but then ask them these three questions. And the students wrote out the answers to the questions on little slips of pink paper. So I know these are kind of hard to read, but they're saying, who this is the answer to the first question, who needs to hear the story? Everyone. This first person said everyone. And where should it be told? So like really start to thinking about the fact that we're going to present this, that this narrative we're talking about doesn't stay in the room. It's going to be put out. So who needs to see? And just having them start to think outside of themselves, to tell the story. And you know, it was kind of, I thought this story could be told at a church. I thought that was an interesting um, thing to say. I don't know if folks can read, if people want me to read this, what I see, or if people can see it. I don't want to read something that you can see for yourself, but I know it is kind of hard to see. Um,
Yeah, maybe the middle one.
okay,
Read that
the
one.
student says, who needs to hear the story? People who love history or want to want
Oh,
want to make a sense out of it, I think is what she's saying. Or
okay.
and then where should it be told all around?
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. So then the next question, you want me to go ahead to the next?
Yes, please. Thank you. So what aspect of the story made an impression on you? And the first girl, the first person, it says, when you said how they lifted the school up and found pencils.
Mm.
So I told them about how the school was actually picked up and driven down the street. And I don't know if I said that that's when they found the pencils, like that, as if the pencils just fell out when they picked up the school. But mentioning the fact that we, maybe history doesn't tell us yet, for sure, if the students learn to write, but the fact that they found writing utensils, like maybe they did, and that they were from the right period. And then the second one is talking about, um, this is something that actually really captivated the students, is not understanding how you could teach someone to read and then expect them to be satisfied with the status quo. So it's like, she says the fact that the school gave the children the tools to escape, in other words, taught them to read, and then we're still completely unexpecting of that they would try to escape. Um, and then questions about how how the dendrochronology was used was really fascinating for them. So it's
Mhm.
kind of like this building that was there, and then I know the building had been tested before, and there were suspicions that it was the Bray School, but it wasn't until that just the right part of the wood was taken and studied, and that's really fascinating in itself. And then this last one I thought was really sweet, and this one, I hadn't looked at these in a while, and it really touched me. She said the girls who were enrolled in the Bray School were the first Black teachers in Virginia. um, this is really wonderful, and I loved the fact that this student was thinking about that.
Yeah,
Um,
we do. Yeah, we talk about that a lot. Definitely the oral history that we've been studying, seems to indicate that as well. It's just that is really kind of a powerful statement.
it really is, and just I was so excited that the students were so excited and asking these really great questions and making some cool
Right.
observations.
I'm going to go ahead to the next one because I love the questions that they had
Yeah,
because some of it is very similar to the questions we ask at the lab.
right.
I-
Right. So what questions do you have? How can they tell exactly how old the wood was? How much more stuff is there that they haven't found yet?
Yes,
Elizabeth, I know you've been asking yourself that.
I know. Exactly.
And I think this student meant physical things, but now we know that's the tip of the iceberg. It's about the people. And
Right.
then what happened to the stuff inside the school. And
Yeah.
this one I inadvertently left off is just one
Um,
more that's another question about, and I'll read it to you because I know it's really hard to see.
yeah.
It says, why would they teach the kids how to read thinking that they would never escape? And it's
Yeah.
kind of like seems so, teaching middle school students who are always looking for an angle and how they can get away with things, and even like timing, asking for a bathroom pass. It's like, of course they've got they've got thoughts, and it's kind of like, how do the adults not realize that they've just given the keys to the kingdom away?
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So then you had all of this, and so then it was a matter of mapping it out.
Yes. And so
So
we also did that in the classroom because I said, all these questions are great, but like, what do we do with this? How, can we think of like major concepts? And they did this in groups. Think of the major concepts and then start, you know, connecting them, and what are all the questions mean? Um, so one is, she's talking about the discovery and the wood and how it was hidden in plain sight, and really the building was a big focus. The building was a major focus of the article. And then the Adam and Fanny story, and then this person's talking about, well, like, what about the actual students? We had a whole, Isaac B got his own circle, which he definitely deserves. um and then, there were others where like a little fascination with Ben Franklin's connection to the Bray Associates, um, and then the one that's got more writing on it. This one cracks me up because if you can look closely, they're actually also talking about like the different Hello Kitty characters. So
yeah.
it's like there's My Melody and like Karomi, like all these things that's like, okay. So they were doodling and working, but they had a great, their story map is great with a discovery scene, a school scene, a runaway scene, and then another discovery years later. So I thought that was pretty cool that they were already like writing the story themselves. And my whole thought from the beginning was that I'm not going to tell them what to do. They are going to tell me how it's going to be, and I'm going to guide them, of course, but it was really never my project.
Oh, okay, well, wow. So then somewhere along the way, you reached out to the lab, yes?
Yes, I did sort of like a over the summer, like, hi, what do you think of this? And didn't really have any expectations. And then the next thing you know, um, we're getting our bus paid for and having this wonderful day and this learning lunch, and having pretty much, I guess, the whole Bray School Lab come out and talk to us and took this really wonderful journey through campus. starting at the student center with just a quick presentation, and I had given the kids all process journals, so just like a small, maybe like 30-page composition notebook where they could write down the questions and write things that they were thinking of. Um, and then walking from the student center to the Wren building, which was great. I think a couple of students thought that the Wren building was the Bray School. So I don't know if you remember that. It was like, no, 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 like, no, no, no. So that was kind of like one of those things. It's like, oh my gosh, they don't know. They really don't know. Um, and so, oh, yeah, in one of the pictures you can see our administrator, assistant principal came with Ms. Sinead Lewis, who was so supportive. And so the kids are asking questions. Then we go from the Wren building and then to actually see the site. And it's like, okay, this is the Bray School, and seeing the change and the size and the scope and location. It's like, oh, this is where they were, not in the Wren building. And of course, I forgot to mention, and there's a picture of it right here, that we really loved seeing Hearth Memorial to the Enslaved and finding the names we're looking for Adam and Fanny and other people. And I think if we went back now, it would be even more meaningful because the students all got really close to one or two particular scholars. And to see those names up there was very cool. And then, and then at the end, we had our learning lunch right outside, right on the lawn. And I love this picture that Grace Helmick took because it's got your offices and then the Bray School right there in the background. This is a perfectly framed shot. Um, and the pizza was delicious, by the way.
Yeah.
But we were, I was just so touched at how really the whole staff spent the whole day, really the whole day with us.
Oh,
And it was wonderful. It
it
really
is
was. Students, they knew that it was special and they felt special, and it was special. And we referred back to these conversations so many times.
wonderful. Oh, that's good. We had such a blast too. It's fun for us. And it really the questions that they raised, because I know that, you know, they're hard questions. And sometimes it was really hard to say, we don't know.
Yes,
And we
yes.
so want to be able to give, answers to all of their questions. So
Right,
yeah,
right.
but it was wonderful. So then uh, there was a preview. So what was the next step for the what?
Well, well, then the next step for us was to actually go into the studio.
Okay.
So once I had my two, like, quote unquote boring meetings. They weren't boring, but we're the kind of the people who are like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be, then kind of drift off. Now I'm down to 10, which is actually the perfect number. Um, and we went into the studio, and I kind of was like at this crossroads. It's like, do we make it like technique, or do we make it like organic, natural movement? I decided that it needed to be organic, natural movement for the time and for the people I had. And so I said, I'm just going to teach them the basics of choreography. And one of the basics of choreography is like impulse movement. So it's like, what do you do when you hear, like, what happens to your body when you hear noise, and or what does it look like when you're tired? Like, how do you walk when you're tired versus when you're excited, And so we just kind of practiced all of that stuff and started thinking about work. And the first one we worked on, we nicknamed it Work. Um, and I think, what kind of work would the scholars have been doing, and what does that look like, and how can you take those movements and make them dance? So we had a little bit of miming, but I didn't want it to be too much miming. So it's kind of like if you're folding laundry, for example, it's like, how can you use your body to make that? It's like, what you're doing, and the audience will understand that it's work, but it's not necessarily so literal with the movement. So we started doing that, and that took a long time, a long, long time. And I think we spent, and we had 8 weeks from when we first started until this preview performance. And we spent the first 3 weeks on just learning the story and that one dance work. So it's like, okay, we need to we need to like move it along. So we were like, okay, after work, then what are we gonna do? Like, what's next? It's like we decided, well, after work, the work song, that's when they find out they're going to go to the Bray School. I was like, okay, good. And how do you feel when you're starting a brand new school? So starting at a brand new school or starting anything that's different. And so we started thinking, um, that was the song that we nicknamed Anticipation. So it's like, what do you think? And then the students started saying, well, am I going to know anybody? Is it going to be hard? Am I going to like the teacher? Am I going to have friends? And so we thought, you feel that way in 2023 at the time. I
Mhm.
bet you the kids felt that way back in their time too, and the kids 100 years from now will feel exactly the same way. So we felt pretty comfortable saying kids are kids. And the kids who became the Bray School scholars had a very different life story than our kids, but they're kids. So we did that, and that one actually was pretty flowed pretty easily. And then we started picking up momentum, and it's like, okay, we got to start at the beginning. We have to learn our letters, and then so we had the ABC song, which we called it, and and then the last song that we had ready for the preview performance was what we nicknamed Sewing. And I thought, okay, we've got to do something fun, so let's get those ribbons that you use in rhythmic gymnastics. Like, I have some of, like, let's use those as like the sewing, because we wanted to show the students like learning the skill of how to sew, but also like what that could mean for them personally. It's like, I now can create. So it's like, I know my letters, now I can write. Eventually I can sew, so now I can design clothes for myself, and I can personalize things and maybe put my initials on a sampler, and I'll know what to do. And so kind of like making the education um, become something that is a real, like, that's part of their life, that enhances their life in a way that can be shown through dance. So those were our first four that
Wow.
we did for the preview. And we were, ooh, we were down to the wire, like, I was like barking orders at him, like a half an hour before the curtain opened. I was like, ah. It's kind of like, we've worked so hard, like, let's like, stay the course and do this thing, and just it's like, get out there and have fun, but also, you know
Yeah.
we've got guests coming, and we want to show them that we're taking this seriously.
Exactly. Well, let's show a couple clips from the preview performance. Again, folks, I would suggest that you make sure that the volume is up. The volume is all the way up on my computer. I hope that this is going to work. And this is from the November preview performance.
My name is Hannah. I am owned by Robert Carter. My name is London. I am owned by Christiana Campbell. My name is Adam. I am owned by the College of William and Mary. My name is Isaac B. My name is Fanny. I am Sylvia. My name is Nancy. My name is Marianne. My name is Molly. I am owned by William Prentice.
And then we have, whoops, one more as well. Let's do this one.
So one day I'm working and I hear some people talking in the other room. They're gonna send me to the Bray School.
All right, so that was a treat. Just hearing, the students say the names of the Bray School scholars was just as they're introducing themselves, and just hearing children's voices being able to articulate that, I think that blew me away. And I know that the audience really enjoyed that preview performance. What were some of what happened next? What were some of the challenges after that?
Well, if I could just, I wanted to say that just briefly,
Oh, sure.
the very first child who came out, who my name is Hannah. I'm owned by Robert Carter Nicholas. I wanted her to be on stage a long time, doing nothing but scrubbing the floor to make the audience uncomfortable. Because I think the audience is already uncomfortable to hear a human say, "I'm owned by." But so that was intentionally slow, so that the audience would um and did react kind of like, oh my gosh, like that it was disturbing for them to hear the students say that. So that was, that was on purpose. And it's very, for I don't know if others are experiencing this, but it's hard to hear the music. The music is very simple. It's basically just drum, like a drum track. When I was trying to decide the music, I thought, I'm not gonna, because at first you're like, oh, it's Colonial Williamsburg, let's play Colonial, fife and drum. And it was like, no, that's not their music.
Mhm.
Let's use music that's more natural for the actual scholars. The fife and drum is colonial music, not the music of the scholars culture. So again, I'm not claiming that the music I used is authentic. It's just drums. It's basically like modern dance music. So that's what you weren't hearing too well, but that's what it was. I wanted those students' voices and movement to take center stage, not the songs.
Excellent. So, so after the performance, then, I know there was a time between, then and before I got there. What was happening next?
So we were already committed to be in our school's musical, and we had a Black History Month piece that we wanted to do, and I had originally thought, okay, the Bray School piece will be presented during our Black History Month concert. And I thought, no, this is its own thing. And out of context, I didn't want to just have, for example, the song you just saw. I feel like that with no explanation or closure or context was like it wasn't the right way to present that. So we had a little break, and in all that time, I was attending the the race school stories and learning about the different scholars. And I don't know, I think it was Molly, when you did Molly, I was like, one of my students is portraying Molly, and I think that if she saw this, it would mean everything. And so I said, Elizabeth, can you give us like a little personalized mini grade school stories that highlights what we know about the scholars that my students have chosen. And then of course you guys took it one step further and said, we'll come to you. And the presentation was actually in my classroom. And Elizabeth, that was so cool to have fact sheets for specific scholars. And it was also in a this might sound like a strange thing to say, but very cool to also not have information about some of the scholars that were chosen, because it's like this story isn't known, which is much more common than having. I think, is that accurate, that there's more we don't know than what we do know? So it's kind of like, let's take the scraps of what we know and like think this is a real person who had a family and who lived, and we just don't know much about them, and like
Right.
that's also part of the story. So So that was a great afternoon. So thank you for doing that again.
Well, and I remember when we were emailing back in preparation for it, it was, you wanted to make sure that the students even understood kind of how some of this work is done. And it's not just a matter of Googling, Marianne, and there's all of her information.
Oh,
Maybe one
exactly.
day, maybe one day we'll get there. But for right now, it's to understand that, what the work entails, as well as just the heartache of the story, not being either finished or even not completely known at this point. Yeah. And
Right.
if the students
That
could kind of understand that, I thought that would also lend itself. So,
absolutely.
yeah.
It was so cool. And then we ended up using all this information in a piece that I didn't even know we were going to do until it kind of like revealed itself to us. But because of this day, really, and all of the research that you were able to present to the students.
So should we go ahead and skip forward to the final? So folks, I sounded like I'm hoping that everybody can hear it. I've got it turned up as loud as I can. The final performance was held on May 4th in Norfolk at the Chrysler Museum of Art. And so this is just a picture of the program, so that you see how it's kind of broken into, like Kristen was saying, there were different pieces and kind of a flow of the story and how the story was presented to the audience. We've got about 4 clips, and then I definitely want to make sure we save time for questions. So this is the new beginning that they started with on the final performance.
This was the last one we did. It was like we couldn't do this until we knew what the whole thing was going to be. So this was the very last piece that we learned.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right.
I am the Williamsburg Bray School. On the outside, I am a modest tenement building. Do you remember me? We are the associates of Dr. Bray. It is our mission to educate Black children, but our purpose is complicated. Do you agree with us? I am the Williamsburg Bray School. For 14 years, I witnessed almost 400 children, most enslaved, some free, learning to read. Do you value me?
I am Anne Wager. I was the only teacher that the Bray School ever had. When I died, no one took my place. I love my students. I taught them to read and to be good slaves. Do you understand me?
I was the Williamsburg Bray School. Over the years, I served other purposes and my appearance changed. Do you see me?
I am a Bray School descendant. I have deep roots here, and I know that my family has ties to the Bray School, but I don't know if I can prove it. Will you help me?
I was the Williamsburg Bray School. Look closely. I am still here, and I want to tell my story. Are you paying attention?
Hmm. Oops.
Our teacher, Miss Wager, says we have to be clean and neat in our clothes.
Bray School scholars learn to read so we can learn about Christianity. We learn about the Bible so we can learn to be more obedient.
Oops.
We have to start at the beginning. We have to learn our letters.
Our teacher,
My favorite part is when to learn how to sew. Maybe if I get good, I can begin to sew instead of clean. Maybe someday I can even make my own clothes. I am so good. I am Adam. I am a grade school scholar. My name is Hannah. I am a grade school scholar. My name is Andy. I am a grade school scholar. My name is Nancy. I am a grade school scholar. My name is Marianne. I'm a grade school scholar. My name is Betty. I'm a grade school scholar. My name is Jenny. I am a grade school scholar. My name is Isaac B. I am a
All right, and then one final clip that we'll do.
My name is London. I am owned by Christiana Campbell. Mrs. Campbell sent me to the Bray School when I was 7 years old, and 21 years later, I'm showing up on her tax list. Do I have siblings? Right now, it's hard to tell. The records don't show what happened to me.
my name is Molly. There are different documents I can use to find me, such as William Prentice's will and records of my baptism at Broome Parish Church. This can help my great-grandchildren, if I have any, to find me.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I got sent to the Bray School with my sister Nancy in 1769. I lived with my siblings and my mother at the Portsmouth Place in 1772. 11 years later, my siblings and I are at a different Portsmouth household, but my mother's name is nowhere to be found on the tax list. My name is Nancy, and I went to the Bray School with my sister Rachel. I'm sitting in a toy of Thomas Portsmouth's estate, but 11 years later, I'm on Joseph Portsmouth's tax list. Was I left to someone else in the will? What happened to them? What happened to all of us? My name is Hannah.
My older Robert Carter Nicholas said I was a C and G. Well, I think he was talking about me. My name is Marianne. I was only 7 when I went to the Bray School. Nobody remembers my last name probably because I'm free. I don't show up in anyone's wills or taxes. I'm just me.
Hi, I am Nathan, and my mom, Aggie, was a Bray School scholar. One of my sisters named their child. I wonder if that will continue. There will be more Nathans that show up in the ranks.
My name is Sylvia, and I was colored by my Waters. I was a student at the Bray School in 1765, and my mother's name was Marcia, and I also had a sibling named Dix. I don't know if I was baptized, and I don't know what happened to my mother and sister.
My name is Isaac Lee. I was enslaved in the Blair household, but I escaped. 19 years later, I escaped again from the Little Page household. The first runaway slave announcement said I could read. The second said I could read and write. And get this, the reward for me was $10, but the reward for the horse was 20. I have a son named John B. What happened to him? Did he have children too? Did I ever see him again? The advertisement about me says that I think I have the right to freedom because my father was a free man. But I do. Everyone has the right to freedom.
My name is Fanny. I was enslaved by the College of William and Mary. My mother might be a lady named Charlotte, who was also enslaved by the college. I might have been one of the youngest Bray School scholars. I wonder why the college doesn't know more about me. Maybe it's up to the current students of William and Mary to find out more about me.
Okay. Yes. Wow. So, what has the conversation been like? I know what the conversation's been like since I've seen it, but what has the conversation been like for the students and for their parents, and maybe even for you with the students since that incredible day?
Well, it's funny because at the beginning they were so unsure of themselves, and that's why I did the pink pieces of paper because I didn't want to talk. They didn't want to go out on a limb. And early on, I had a student say, one of the white students, say, "I don't know if I can do this." And I said, "Well, what? Why? What's on your mind? Like, talk, talk more." And she said, "I just can't stand like being one of the bad guys." Meaning that, she's, telling a story of slavery as a white child. And I said, "First of all, you are not bad." And I said, Just because people who look like us did things that now we find reprehensible, um, doesn't it, isn't it more important than ever to tell the story and to have the story coming from all different people, people who look like, all the shades of the rainbow, telling the story together, because that you honor the story when you tell the story. And if and so we go from that, kind of like the trepidation to, you saw they were like throwing their body across stage and spinning and twirling and really just embodying the characters. And I think, you know my mentor Albert Watson, who's the dance master at Norfolk Academy, who's also just like a wonderful, generous human. I talked to him before I started this, and I was like, "How am I going to do this?" And he said, and this is the piece of advice I would give, he's like, make sure the students, like, what does this have to do with me? Make sure the students feel personally connected to the story. And that is why, this list that you gave us of the scholars, all like the roster of the scholars over the years, they the students like picked somebody and like, that's my person now. And so I feel like they got so comfortable embodying the person that they chose, that then they felt really honored and excited later. But so at the end, I said, what was something that really that really stuck out to you about this process that you really enjoyed? And almost everybody said, I liked being Isaac B. And even the boy who played the building, he was like, I was so excited I got to be the building. And so it really ended up meaning a lot, so much to them. And it just kind of like brought it all home and made it real. And I know that they felt proud that they were doing something important, and something that matters. I think my principal had about had a heart attack when she saw one of the students saying, I'm owned by, but um but then once you kind of realize what we're trying to do, it's like you realize that it's important to say these things, and to not talk about them because they're uncomfortable is like the worst thing you can do. So um yeah, so there is a lot of positive reaction. I think the kids over time, maybe they'll look back on this and realize what they did was really special. But they're all 11, 12, 13 years old, so they're kind of like, okay, we're done, do we get a snack? Like it's just like a very, genuine reaction. But I don't know, I've left, I like personally, it took me a while before I was able to watch this video, because I felt like that I just put so much of myself into it, and I just hoped that what was seen by others was as beautiful to them as it is to me, because I know that my students, they're not trained dancers, but they really were dancing from the heart, and they did it, they decided what we were going to tell and how we were going to tell it and what their movement was going to be. Um, and so I was kind of very honored to have been the custodian of that.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing. This has been just really special to be able to share this with a broader audience that wasn't able to be there perhaps in Norfolk that day. I want to make sure we say, first of all, a profound thank you to Kristen and to your students, because that was seeing this story in a very different medium than documents and dry, ways that we see it. This just brought things, and hearing it with the students' voices in it just really gave it a whole nother life, or a way to experience it. But I want to open it up to people who may have some questions for Kristen, or about the project. We've got about 10 minutes. I want to be mindful of everyone's time. Please, there are questions in the chat, questions that you want to raise. Well, I will get started, so give people a chance since I've still got some. Do you know whether there are any plans to perform it again, or to a different or a wider audience? Any ideas? I know these kids, it's a different, it'll be a different school year next year, but
Right. We don't have any plans right now, but we would be, thrilled to. We had out of the 3 eighth graders, but they all want to be called back for it. It's funny because we did. I've never done a project that took this long with dance or anything really. And we did have some personnel changes, minor, just like a couple people in and out, so sometimes you wouldn't notice this, but it's like the person who said her name was Nancy, like, she doesn't look like the person who said her name was Nancy from the first one, because it was a different person. But having to relearn everything and get the timing down. There was like one part in particular that every single time we performed it, it went a little sideways. I was like, things like that, would have to be re-rehearsed, but so no.
Right, exactly, exactly. So, I don't know whether you're seeing, Kristen, the comments in the chat, but Daniel, thank you for your comments that you're placing, and they're very, very complimentary. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that. For that.
Did you have, go ahead.
Please.
Did you have any pushback from the parents, or any of the parents raise any kind of like, what is my kid doing?
Not at all, but I also kept them in the loop as we were going, going along through the process, and made sure they understood. We did do like a short snippet for the City of Norfolk Parks and Rec Arts Expo. And so before I let the kids go on stage, I gave that warning to the audience. I said, you're going to hear the students say, I am owned by, and it's going to be disturbing. I just want you to know that's coming, and that explain the reason that we're doing this. And I didn't get pushback from anybody. Nobody, not even like that one person in the community that has to say something. Nobody, everyone was everyone was so supportive and understanding, and the parents really they were terrific. So it was just funny to me how what the story that I thought we were going to tell is different from the story we did tell. Because when it started off, I had the dendrochronology on the mind and thinking, oh, Ann Wager, that's the story. And our visit to Williamsburg really changed the course of where we were going. And now I can't remember who said it, or if it was just sort of like there. But it's like, Ann Wager isn't the story. She's she's the gateway. But the students, that's what my students related to, and what I think that is the story, is the scholars, and thinking about their lives and what was asked of them and what was put upon them, and just the power of education can't be overstated.
Exactly, exactly. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Anyone else? I'm so appreciative of all of you being here this evening. It's been such a special story to share. Any other questions or comments for Kristen for the lab?
I was just going to say, when you perform and you put yourself into, no matter what it is you're performing, whether they're little people or adults, you become that person, that character. And they understood, I'm sure, that that's how life was.
Yeah.
For those people. That's not how life is for us. And 100 years in the future, kids are going to look back at us and say, yeah, because I've had middle schoolers, well, I wouldn't have done that. And I said, well, yes, you would have. Yeah. They wouldn't have followed mom and dad's directions. They wouldn't have worked outside in the fields all day. And well, if you wanted to eat, yes, you did. Yeah. And yeah. So they have to take in the whole story. They have to just put themselves like they did. They kind of became those people.
Yes.
Yeah. Which made it easier, I'm sure, for them, because they were portraying. Portraying is different than being yourself.
Right, of course. Yeah. But it was definitely personal.
Easier. Yeah, right.
It was personal, and it's kind of like, oh God, what happened to Isaac B? Like the answer's out there. It's got to be.
Yeah.
And
another day.
Yeah. Yes.
Research and look and see what you can find.
Yep. They're asking the same questions that I've got. Yeah. We're on it. Exactly. So, well, folks, I want to just if no one has any other questions, I again appreciate you all being here. We do have just a couple of announcements of things coming up. Actually, let me share my screen once more, just so I can share some other upcoming events. Let's see if we can get through here. Here we go. So if you happen to be in the Williamsburg area, there are many activities happening around Juneteenth. I encourage you to check out all the social media posts on all the announcements that are coming out. The William and Mary's Juneteenth celebration is going to be held inside in Sadler Center on campus, and everyone is welcome to come. And I hear it's going to be hot next week, so maybe an air-conditioned Juneteenth celebration might be enjoyable for some folks. And then also I want to share that our own Tanya Meredith was very much a part of a new exhibit that is right now at the Virginia Museum of History and Culture in Richmond. It's about the Rosenwald School. The exhibit is centered around photographs that Andrew Filer took of Rosenwald schools. Got Bray School on the brain. Rosenwald schools and efforts for restoring. And Tanya went all over this state, capturing oral histories of former students, former teachers and principals. And so those oral histories are a part of this exhibit. So I encourage you to check out the exhibit at the Virginia Museum of History and Culture in Richmond. It's going to be, it's going on for a while. Tanya, do you know is it a year that it's going to be going?
Yes, it's running till April 30th, 2025.
Great, thank you. And then, as always, we welcome you to stay in touch with the Bray School Lab and all the events coming up. We now have a newsletter that goes out usually every Friday with all the happenings and upcoming events. And so if you'd like to sign up to receive that in your email inbox, please sign up and stay in touch with the William and Mary Bray School Lab. And that is it for us for tonight for our program. I appreciate you all being here. We will be back next month at our regular day, which is usually the last Monday of the month, same time, 6 o'clock. And yours truly and Tanya Meredith will be talking about how oral history is informing the genealogy and the research of the Williamsburg Bray School. So, Kristen, thank you very much again for being here this evening, for all the work that you and your students have done on this project. It's really, really beautiful. And I'm going to choke up again. Okay, thank you so much for being here.